Hey guys, Greg here on the Vinyl Rundown. Got 5 jazz records to show you today, and I'm going to show you that the first 3 of them were sent to me by the record labels, record producers, and I apologize. It's taken me forever to get to making this video. We had a new addition to the family. It's taken up quite a bit of time in the last few month and a half. But the first 2 records come to me from Time Traveler Records. Time Traveler is really one of Zev Feldman's imprints. And you guys might know Zev as the jazz detective who goes out and creates or grabs stuff from the archives and people's attics, stuff that's never been heard before, and brings it to life. But in this case, his new Time Traveler imprint is going out to established record labels that may be defunct or inactive for decades, like Muse, which, you know, produced a lot of great records in the 70s, maybe 80s. Let's just start with Woody Shaw, make it simple. What can you say about Woody Shaw? An amazing trumpet player, really the only trumpet player of his generation that Miles Davis said, yeah, this guy's the real deal. He had complex harmonic language, could play fluently, fluidly, flawlessly, but right in the liner notes it says something interesting. Now, these are the new liner notes that he had made just for this re-release. The record's original liner notes are still intact. So this is Love Dance, originally recorded in 1976. Now, interesting note from the liner notes. Woody Shaw, born too late or too soon? The answer is both. Where does Woody Shaw fit in the panoply of great jazz trumpeters? Well, his debut, his kind of big debut, people knew him from, is Larry Young's Unity record. Larry Young, the organist, this is his biggest album, a Blue Note release. This record will be tied in at a later point. Larry Young, amazing organ player. Anyway, 1976, when this record came out, like, where was jazz going at that time? Jazz was in a little bit of funk is a bad word, but maybe a funny word. You know, Coltrane had died, Miles had done Bitches Brew, but Miles was ready to go on hiatus. Who was in charge of jazz in 1976? Well, I can't say it was Woody Shaw, but Woody Shaw was trying to bridge these 2 styles. You know, is it funk? Is it fusion? Is it post-bop? Because the effortless virtuosity of his playing was not maybe as well suited to the funk soul era that we were about to go into as it was in the post-bop era. So an amazing player, but a tragic and traumatic life. Okay, he unfortunately used heroin for a lot of his life, got sick, started to go blind. But then he got hit by a subway, lost his left arm. He died soon after that. So this record is a great testament to his ability to compose and be a great player. And it captures a couple of different styles. You know, his post-bop, Lee Morgan-esque, sort of very virtuosic. But then he's maybe more harmonically complex than Lee Morgan, I would say. Very cool album, very upbeat, very some fast tempos. So we've got Billy Harper on sax and Renee McLean on alto and soprano sax, Joe Bonner on piano, Cecil McBee on bass, Victor Lewis and Guillermo Franco on percussion. Anyway, bunch of great players. Originally produced by Michael Cuscuna, the great, you know, master who did so many great Blue Note stuff, both music and photography, who died not too long ago. So this might be the most popular and accessible of all the records here. Okay, if you're like a Blue Note post-bop fan, you will certainly dig the playing, and then we're just starting to get into a little more funky fusion-y elements. So Woody Shaw, amazing player. Okay, the second record on Muse is Joe Chambers. No relation to Paul Chambers, the bass player. Joe Chambers, an amazing drummer who is better known at playing with people like Wayne Shorter and Bobby Hutcherson, But believe it or not, Joe Chambers' first instrument was piano, so this is a record really about keyboardists. And when he says double exposure, see the double exposed film with the two pianos? Two piano players. This record is really just two keyboard players, Joe Chambers and Larry Young, who we mentioned a few minutes ago. Larry Young just playing organ, Joe Chambers playing primarily piano, and a little bit of percussion. There's just a little tiny bit of drums and percussion on here. Now, side one, kind of trippy, modalist playing. Maybe, I don't know if you want to say spiritual. It's not like bebop. It's like more cerebral, in your head, kind of deep, thoughtful playing. But then Larry Young comes in with these swirling keyboard organ swirls that are like, it's very trippy. I really like the effect of Larry Young coming in with the organ swirls and swishes. A little tiny bit of drums from Joe Chambers and a little bit of synthesizer from Larry Young. And on one song, Joe Chambers plays the tabla, and he does something weird. He plays the tabla, that's the Indian drum, while it looks like he's playing the piano with one hand and the tabla with another hand. And he just comes in for a hit once in a while with the tabla. Piano, piano, piano. And my wife's like, is there a scratch on this record? Because like every second and a half, it was like, you gotta realize that that's not a flaw in the record. That's him playing one tabla note every once in a while. One of these tunes, I think it was Mind Rain, was sampled by the hip-hop artist Nas. I know very little about that guy, but I read that online. So this record was well-loved enough in its days that it caught the attention of some of the later people like Nas in our current generation of music. Let me just double check. This record was from 1978. And Joe Chambers played with everybody from Dolphy, Mingus, Wayne Shorter, Chick Corea. He even played drums on Wayne Shorter's Speak No Evil. Wow. Amazing. Joe Chambers. I like this record a lot. Okay. I like all these records. Okay. Now here's a record from an artist that none of you have heard of. And I don't even know how to pronounce his name. John Venore. John Venore, I guess, is a trumpet player. And he has a big band called the Abstract Truth. Abstract Truth. That name probably means something. That is reminiscent of Oliver Nelson, Blues and the Abstract Truth. So John Venore's band has been called Abstract Truth for a long time. And that kind of tells you who one of his major influences are. Oliver Nelson, one of the most amazing composers in jazz. Stolen Moments, everybody should know that song. The record label contacted me and said, do you want us to send you this record by this guy, John Venore? It's a big band record. I'm like, big band? Okay, I've got a lot of experience with big band. I played in a big band in high school, toured in competitions, and the sound of sitting with a big band and all those horns, absolutely amazing. But when I look at the trajectory that big band music has gone, so I was hesitant, but they sent me the EPK. I listened to it digitally online, and I found myself listening to it over and over, and I was like, yeah, I do want to hear this record. I like this more than I thought, and so I got to, sorry if I started out being a little bit biased or skeptical, but when you say big band music, jazz has really gone lots of different directions since the days of big band. And there is a lot of big band music out there, you know, played in the schools. It's very academic, or it's very just like nostalgia. I'm not into new bands that are just doing nostalgia shtick. This is not that at all. This is a highly original and interesting composition. It's actually, this record is, did I even tell you the name of it? It's called the Easter Island Suite. Remember those big guys on Easter Island, those big giant heads? Mysterious. It's a suite in 4 movements, and the first movement was written and recorded 40 years ago. So this record is 40 years in the making. Most jazz records, they look at the charts on Monday, they record on Tuesday, and that's it. But this is a very thoughtful, interesting, long-form suite that's meant to help you sort of imagine or visualize not only going to Easter Island, but what was going on back then, a couple thousand years ago, creating these giant, mysterious statue heads that no one knows what the heck they are. So John Venor is a trumpet player and a session player and an educator and a composer, orchestrator, arranger. And one of my fears was, oh, is this going to be a vanity piece, a platform for him to just to show off his trumpet playing? Not at all. He is not the featured trumpet player on here. Yes, he plays some good stuff, but the main thing is the thoughtful and well done compositions, and there are some great solos. I love the sax solo. I love the modern electric guitar solo. There was a disappointment here. It's a 4-movement piece. At the end of side 3, I flipped it over, and I was disappointed. There is no side 4. They squeezed 2 of the movements on one of the sides. I wanted more. I literally flipped the record over, and it was almost blank sides. But that's a testament to how much I enjoy the music. So play this on a nice stereo system that will let you appreciate the dynamics of a big band. Like I said, I played in a big band, and the sound is unlike anything because it's all acoustic instruments, and it's dynamic and loud and awesome. So hats off to John Venor. What else is in here? Oh, the giant heads. You gotta love the giant heads. I'd love to get to Easter Island someday, but it's really hard to get to, and there's no tourism there. You just go and look at the heads and you leave, I guess. John's never been there. I've never been there. None of you have ever been there. Emmanuel Wilkins. That's him there, not here. That's Emmanuel Wilkins, the sax player. This album is called The Seventh Hand. This came out a few years ago, I think 2001, but I just picked it up at a used record store. Thought I would throw it in here because it's an interesting record worth checking out. It is also a record that is a suite, 7 movements, and it's called The Seventh Hand. So a suite of 7 movements that are meant to be played in order. Okay, not just random tunes. So kind of a big project. Emmanuel Wilkins, if you don't know, sax player from Philadelphia, went to Juilliard. When he first came out in like 2020, he got so many accolades, awards, downbeat polls, best new artists, etc., etc. So he's really making a name for himself as an interesting composer and sax player. And this here looks like a religious ceremony, doesn't it? Like a baptism. Well, it sort of is. It is a tribute to the spiritual human possibilities. You know, it's supposed to progress in steps as humans can do this, 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 and then they achieve something. I'm not a real spiritual guy, but Wilkins was certainly brought up in the church, and so that's sort of part of his aesthetic. A lot of great players on here, but young players that you may not have heard of, that I actually haven't heard of. Micah Thomas on piano. Daryl Jones on bass. No, it's Daryl Johns on bass. No relation, obviously. Kweku Sumbri on drums. People I'm really not familiar with. But the last track, Lift, it's called, which has a spiritual sound to it. The new version, new take on Love Supreme, kind of that vibe. So again, it's not a vanity piece where it's just a platform to show off his sax playing. It's an ensemble piece where each musician gets to do their thing. The sum is greater than the parts. Emmanuel Wilkins, keep your eye out for him. He's really doing some great things on Blue Note. So, okay, last on the list is a record from last year, not that old. The Nels Cline Concentric Quartet. Nels Cline, the guitar player you may know from Wilco. He's actually he's a jazz guitar player who somehow got stuck in a pop rock band. And I've seen Nels play a zillion times. My wife makes me see Wilco every time they come out here. Nels Cline's crazy solos are the highlight for me. But Nels is really, he straddles a couple different worlds. Can you straddle 3 things? I don't know. He has been a jazz guitar player for a long time, but he's also played in some sort of punky, noisy bands. So, very innovative guy. And his last 3 or 4 records have been on Blue Note. This is one of my favorite. The last two are one of my favorites of his on Blue Note. He did some other ones on Blue Note, like a record of horn arrangements that was not my favorite. But this, I got this at Atomic Records. I was in there one day, and who did I run into? Rob the Waxed, of all people. What a way to bring down your day. Don't you know what I'm talking about? Prince of Darkness. We love Rob sometimes. A 2-record set that's not a gatefold. They got 2 sleeves crammed into 1 record. And some interesting photography here, which I'm going to highlight because you get this photo of Nels, but then you get a signed, autographed photo of Nels. It's not the same photo, it's the same session, same sitting, a couple seconds apart. One in sepia, one in black and white. And this is printed and this is signed. So interesting packaging. Actually, the artwork is cool, as always, with Nels. Who plays on here, you ask? Ingrid LeBrock is a female sax player, and that's what attracted me to this record. Okay, as I was in the store, I pulled it up on my phone. I said, let me hear a couple tracks from this. And the first thing I heard was the sax, and I'm like, if this record has this much great sax on it, I want it. Turns out there's not as much sax on it as I'd hoped, but there's tons of guitar playing. Ingrid is married to the drummer, Tom Rainey. Which is which, I don't know. Ingrid is married to Tom Rainey, who is probably better known for playing with Tim Byrne, who I've interviewed on this channel, by the way. Why do you mention that? I don't know. Chris Lightcap on bass works with Craig Taborn. I don't know Chris too well, but post-bop, avant-garde, free jazz, intense. Nels is a great composer and a great player and a great leader, and his stuff is kind of a little bit out there. I have a hard time describing jazz in words, okay? We have stylistic conventions. Is it post-bop? Is it modal? Is it free jazz? It's just good music. So I'm not one of those reviewers that can use all these fancy, flowery words. And half of those people are just yanking your chain when they use that kind of language. Reminds me when I was at UCLA, and my roommate was a record reviewer for the newspaper. And he said, Greg, I got this record from Al DiMaio. Can you help me write something on it? He meant Al Di Meola. He knows nothing about music. And we just made up some nonsensical, it's like AI slop. I'm not responsible for that, but he's like, yeah, no one reads this, no one cares about jazz. I'm going to use a bunch of fancy words about post-mobile, bopping, transitory. I'm not that guy, okay? I can tell you more about the context of the record, who made it, why they're good, but to describe music with words, I'm kind of apologizing for not being able to describe music. I like all of these records. Go listen to them online, and if you like what you hear, buy them. What else can I say? Follow me, if you want to, on Vinyl Rundown. I'm actually much bigger on Instagram lately, 20,000 subs, and we're trying to push, 9 or 10,000 on YouTube. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for getting through this with me. Have a good one. Check you later. Bye-bye.